Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, good whatever time of day it is and whatever part of the world you're at right now. Welcome back to my channel, ASKnowlin. Today we're going to do another lesson on the systems of equations, but this time we're going to be taking a look at word problems, okay? And we're going to split this lesson up into two parts. Part one, which is this video, is going to be just us defining the two variables and writing the system of equations. In part two, we're going to actually solve the system and then answer the questions, okay? So let's go ahead and jump in. Once again, we're going to be using the system of equations to solve word problems. So there's four main steps. Define your two variables, step one. Step two is write a system of equations. Step three, solve the system. And then step four is answer it. So just to reiterate, like I said, on this video, we're only going to spend this lesson doing the first two steps, defining the variable and writing the equations. Excuse me. And the second part, we'll solve it and answer the questions. So for number one says let the two numbers, the sum of two numbers is 30 and their difference is 12. Find the two numbers. Well, first, like the steps require us, we have to define our variables. So in this case, our variables are just going to represent two different numbers. So let x equal the first number and let y equal the second number. Okay. Now that we've defined our variables, we can go ahead and write our equations. So the first equation is going to be the sum of two numbers is 30. So the sum, which means to add x and y, that should be equal to 30. Now, the second equation is going to come still from that first sentence. It says, and their sum, and their difference is 12. Their difference is 12. So difference means to subtract. X minus y should equal 12. And now we've defined our variables and we wrote our equations for our system. So now let's go ahead and take a look at number 3. Okay. For number 3, it reads, the difference between two numbers is positive 9. The first number plus twice the other number is 27. Find the two numbers. So once again, the first step is to define the variables. So we're going to say let x equal, once again, we're talking about just two numbers. So let x equal the first number. Let y equal the second number. And now we can go ahead and begin to write our equations for our system. So it says first, the difference between two numbers is 9. So that means that x minus y is equal to 9. The next sentence tells us the second equation. It says the first number plus twice the second number is 27. So the first number is x plus twice the second number, or twice the other number. Twice means 2 times. So 2 times y, or just 2y. And all of that should be equal to 27. And now we've done that. So that's number 3. Let's take a look at number 5. Number 5 reads, the sum of two numbers is 20. The difference between 3 times the first number and twice the second number, the second, is 40. Find the two numbers. So step 1, identify or define your variables. So let's go ahead and do that. We have two numbers. So let x equal the first number. Let y equal the second number. Oops, let me spell second correctly. And now we can go ahead and start to write our two equations for our system. So equation number 1, it says the sum of two numbers is 20. So that means that x plus y equals 20. Now the second part says the difference between 3 times the first number and twice the second number is 40. So the difference means to subtract. 3 times the first means just that, 3 times the first number. The first number is x, so that's going to be 3x. And then the second term, it says twice the second one. Twice, once again, means 2 times. So 2y, and all of that should equal 40. So that's how the system of equations should look for number 5. Let's go ahead and continue working. And if you notice, we're doing all of the odd problems, okay? So let's take a look at number 7. Number 7 reads, the cost of 3 boxes of envelopes and 4 boxes of notebook paper is $13.25. 2 boxes of envelopes and 6 boxes of notebook paper cost $17. Find the cost of each. All right, well, first we need to define our variables. So in both sentences, they talk about boxes of envelopes, right? And notebook paper. And I'll underline that again. And I really, we need to do that in black, because when we define our variables, we do it in black. So envelopes, notebook paper. Envelopes and notebook paper. So, and I'm gonna use the letter E for envelopes, okay? So let E represent envelopes. And we're gonna use the letter N to represent notebook paper. Okay, notebook paper. Now that I've done that, we should be able to go ahead and start to write our equations for our system. Okay, so let me move that. I'm gonna put that right there. I'm gonna put a comma. So let's take a look here. The first sentence says 3 boxes of envelopes, right? And 4 boxes of notebook paper is $13.25. So we're gonna write it just like that. It's gonna be 3E plus 4N equals 13.25. Now, the second equation is gonna say 2E and 6N equals 17. So 2E and 6N equals 17. And then we would go ahead and solve our system to figure out how much the boxes of envelopes cost versus how much the boxes of notebook paper cost, okay? Let's go ahead and take a look at number 9. Number 9 reads, Gabby and Sydney bought some pens and pencils. Gabby bought 4 pens and 5 pencils for $6.71. Sydney bought 5 pens and 3 pencils for $7.12. Find the cost of each. All right, so step 1, like always, is to define our variables. And here we're talking about pens and pencils. Pens and pencils. And one more time. Pens and pencils. So we pretty much know that our variables are going to represent pens and pencils. So let's see here. Let P represent pens and let N represent pencils. Okay. Now that we've done that, we're going to write an equation for Gabby. And we're going to write an equation for Sydney. All right, now Gabby's equation is going to be 4P and 5N equals 6.71. So 4P plus 5N equals 6.71. And Sydney's equation should read 5P plus 3N equals 7.12. 5P plus 3N equals 7.12. And then we would, of course, just solve the system to figure out what the solution is and then provide an answer. Number 11. Number 11 reads, a garden supply store sells 2 types of lawnmowers. The smaller lawnmower costs $249.99, and the larger mower costs $329.99. If 30 total mowers were sold, and the total sales for a given year was $8,379.70. Find how much of each type were sold. So we have two different types of lawnmowers. We have a small mower and we have a large mower. So when we define our variables, we're going to say let S equal small mower, right? And let L equal large mower. Now that we've done that, we have two different totals here, okay? One of the totals is for the number of mowers sold, and the other total is for the cost, the total cost, okay? So we're gonna have one of our equations is gonna be about the mowers, and the other equation is gonna be about the cost. So for the mowers, we know that there are some small mowers and some large mowers, and let me make that look like a L, more of an L, not a crazy looking E. And they sold a total of 30 mowers, okay? Now let's write the equation for cost. For cost, they tell us that the small mowers cost $249.99, so 249.99s plus the large mower costs $329.99 per each large mower, and they made a total of $8,379.70. And this is how we would write the equation for number 11, the system of equations for number 11. Let's continue moving on. Number 13. Number 13 reads, a group of 40 children attended a baseball game on a field trip. Each child received either a hot dog or bag of popcorn. Hot dogs were $2.25 and popcorn was $1.75. If the total bill was $83.50, how many hot dogs and bags of popcorn were purchased? So, first, like usual, we do have to go ahead and define our variables. Each time, define the variables, then write the equation. So, our variables here, the things that they're talking about that we don't know how many of or whatever, is hot dogs and bags of popcorn. So, I'm gonna let H equal hot dogs, and I'm going to let P equal popcorn or bags of popcorn, right? Popcorn. I can't spell today, y'all. Popcorn, right? Popcorn. Now that we've identified that, once again, we want to look for some totals, okay? They told us the total number of children, and they said each child received either hot dog or popcorn. So we know altogether there were 40 items bought, because they said each child, and there were 40 children, so 40 items were bought. So one of our equations is going to be based on the number of items, and then our other equation is going to be based on cost. So the number of items, we know some hot dogs were bought, we know some bags of popcorn was bought, and we know how many total items were bought. 40, right? Because they said a group of 40 children, each child received either hot dog or popcorn, okay? Now, they also tell us the price of each of the items. Hot dogs cost $2.25, so 2.25 each, plus a bag of popcorn was $1.75, so that's 175p, and all together they spent a total of $83.50. Okay, so that's that. There is our system of equations for number 13. Let's take a look at number 15. Number 15 reads, adult tickets for the school musical sold for $3.50 and student tickets sold for $2.50. On a given night, 321 tickets were sold for $937.50. How many of each kind of ticket were sold? First, let's go ahead and define our variables. Let A equal adult tickets. Tickets. And let S represent student tickets. Okay, and we see that here. Adult tickets, student tickets. Now, once again, we have a total for each. We know how many tickets were sold total, and we know the cost of each ticket, each type of ticket. So one of our equations is going to be for the tickets, and then the other equation is going to be based on the cost. Okay, so let's figure out the tickets one. We know that adults attended the musical, so A, and we know that students went to the musical. We don't know how many of each, but we know how many people went all together, 321. So that, guess what? That means that 321 tickets were sold. All right. Now let's talk about the cost of each type of ticket. Well, the cost of the adult ticket was $3.50, so $3.50 per adult, right? So 3.50 times A, plus it was $2.50 for student tickets, so 2.50 times S, or 250S, is equal to, how much money did they make that night? $937.50. So that should all be equal to 937.50. And there it is. Let's move on to number 17. All right, and we just have two more after this, 17 and 19, done. Mary has a collection of nickels and quarters for a total value of $4.90. If she has 42 coins total, how many of each coin are there? Well, let's start off by defining our variables. Let N represent nickels, right? And Q represent what? Quarters. All right. Now that we've done that, let's go ahead and figure out what our equation should say. One of them is going to be based on the total number of coins, and then the other one is going to be based on the cost, the total cost. So, number of coins, that's the first one. And then the second one is going to be total value. All right. So we know she has some nickels. We know she has some quarters, and altogether she has 42 coins, right? Now, how much is a nickel? How much is a quarter, right? They don't tell us how much it's worth. We should already know that. Well, we know nickels are 5 cents, and we know quarters are 25 cents, but how do we represent that as a number, right? Well, 5 cents would be 0.05 times N plus, and a quarter is how much? 25 cents. So we write that as 0.25, and then we put Q, right? Q. And how much, what was the total value of all the coins? $4.90. And that's it. Okay. Let's take a look at number 19. This is our last one, number 19. Number 19 reads, your math teacher, Mr. Knowlin, tells you that the next test is worth 100 points and contains 38 problems. Multiple choice questions are worth 2 points each, and word problems are worth 5 points. How many of each type of questions are there? All right. Well, first, like we've been doing this whole time, let's define our variables. Let's say that, and let's use what are our variables here? We have one test with different types of questions, multiple choice questions and word problem questions. So I'm gonna say let M equal multiple choice, and let W equal word problems. now that we've done that, what do we know? Let's see, we know that there is a total of points, and we know how many total problems there are. Total points, 100 total points, right here. 100 total points. And there are 38 problems altogether. So we're gonna have one based on points, and we're gonna have one based on problems. Let me write that in red. Problems. All right. So for the points, we know that multiple choice questions are 2 points and word problems are 5 points. So 2m plus 5w equals 100. Now, we know that there are 38 total problems, and we know that some of them are multiple choice, and we know that some of them are word problems. So m plus w equals 38. All right, and that will conclude the first part of our lesson on application, the use of systems of equations to solve word problems.